You can die from someone else's misery. Emotional states are as infectious as diseases. You may feel you are helping the drowning man, but you are only precipitating your own disaster. The unfortunate sometimes draws it on you. Associate with happy and fortunate instead. Many things are said to be infectious. Sleepiness can be infectious, and yawning as well. In large-scale strategy, when the enemy is agitated and shows an inclination to rush, do not mind in the least. Make a show of complete calmness, and the enemy will be taken by this and will become relaxed. You infect their spirit. You can infect them with a carefree, drunk-like spirit, with boredom or even weakness. Keys to power. Those misfortunate among us who have been brought down by circumstances beyond their control deserves all the help and sympathy we can give them. But there are others who are not born to misfortune or unhappiness, but who draw it upon themselves by their destructive actions and unsettling effect on others. It would be a great thing if we could raise them up, change their patterns, but more often than not, it is their patterns that end up getting inside and changing us. The reason is simple. Humans are extremely susceptible to moods, emotion, and even the ways of thinking of those with whom they spend their time. The incurably unhappy, unstable have a particularly strong infecting power because their characters and emotions are so intense. They often present themselves as victims, making it difficult at first to see their miseries as self-inflicted. Before you realize the real nature of their problems, you have been affected by them. Understand this. In the game of power, the people you associate with are critical. The risk of associating with infectors is that you will waste valuable time and energy trying to free yourself. Through a kind of guilt by association, you will also suffer in the eyes of others. Never underestimate the dangers of infections. There are many kinds of infectors to be aware of, but one of the most insidious is the suffering from chronic dissatisfaction. A virus, unseen, it enters your pores without warning, spreading silently and slowly. Before you are aware of the infection, it is deep inside you. There is only one solution to infection: quarantine. But by the time you recognize the problem, it is often too late. How can you protect yourself against such insidious viruses? The answer lies in judging people on the effects they have on the world and not on the reason they give for their problems. Infectors can be recognized by the misfortune they draw on themselves, their turbulent past, their long line of broken relationships, their unstable careers, and the very force of their character, which sweeps you up and makes you lose your reason. Be forewarned by these signs of an infector. Learn to see the discontent in their eyes. Most important of all, do not take pity. Do not enmix yourself in trying to help. The infector will remain unchanged, but you will be unhinged. The other side of infection is equally valid and perhaps more readily understood. There are people who attract happiness to themselves by their good cheer, natural buoyancy, and intelligence. They are a source of pleasure, and you must associate with them to share in their prosperity they draw upon themselves. This applies to more than good cheer and success. All positive qualities can infect us. Associate with the generous, and they will affect you, opening up everything that is tight and restricted in you. Never associate with those who share your defects. they will enforce everything that holds you back. Only create association with positive affinities. Make this a rule of life, and you will benefit more than from all the therapy in the world.
How our thoughts affect our vibrations. Everything is energy. Everything we can see, hear, touch, taste, and smell is made of different wavelengths vibrating at different frequencies. Our brain is like a translator that has the ability to interpret these frequencies into what we perceive to be our physical reality. So we interpret an energy cluster as a chair or a tree or another person. We perceive them as physical or solid, but break them down to their smallest particles and they're all just energy. There are non-physical energies as well, of course. Our thoughts, for example, are just different vibrations. Every time you think a thought, you send out that thought's specific vibration. If a thought makes you feel good, if it's a positive thought, it's vibrating at a higher frequency. If a thought makes you feel bad, if it's a negative thought, it's vibrating at a lower frequency. So, I hate you has a much lower frequency than I love you, for example. The more focus you give to a thought, the more thoughts of the same vibration will join it. This is the law of attraction in action. Like attracts like. As the vibration grows, it becomes stronger, more stable, more able to attract other, equal frequencies. The more attention you pay to a subject, the easier it becomes to think about it, and the more evidence you'll see in your world supporting your thoughts about it. If you think the world is a terrible place and spend a lot of time watching negative news, looking for horrible and sad stories in the paper, and spending hours talking to others about how the world is going downhill, more stories supporting this worldview will literally find you. Whenever you meet someone who thinks the world is a wonderful place, they're probably going to annoy you. The energy of their thoughts is completely foreign to you. The thoughts you think form a collective vibration. Some of your thoughts are more negative and some are more positive, but the majority of your thoughts are going to be in pretty much the same range. If you think predominantly positive thoughts, your overall vibration is going to be higher than if you think predominantly negative thoughts. And this collective vibration will affect what thoughts or vibrations you have access to. If you're a predominantly negative person, you'll have a very hard time thinking a cheery, sunshiny, happy puppy thought. It's not impossible, but it's very difficult. So, are we then merely a collection of our thoughts? Not really, no. Who we are is pure, positive energy.
So we met a couple years ago. Surprisingly or not, we got along. We had like an interesting rapport. And so we decided to do a book together.
Right.
And what I do when I write a book, whether it's about power, seduction, or war, I take the most powerful people in their field and I kind of break them down. I figure out what is the essence of them, what's the core of their success. I call it their power center of gravity. Right. So I decided I would do that with you. And so after a couple of months of following you around, I decided that the secret to your success, your power center of gravity, is your fearlessness. So in any kind of situation where you're interacting with people, you're the one that has less fear than they do. And that gives you like a constant strategic advantage. You're able to adapt to the situation, to take risks when other people are afraid of it. And this is, to me, the source of your power. And so this is the subject of our book, The 50th Law, the power that anybody can have in life if they assume this fearless approach. So I was wondering, were you just sort of born this way? Did you come out of the womb not crying, kind of fearless? Or did you have to develop this attitude when you were on the streets as a kid without a mother or father there? Did you have to learn how to be like that?
It's absolutely something that I developed over time, because like I think I have the same emotions everyone else does. I just have a way to suppress those feelings in different circumstances and situations. I can kind of adjust.
Can you remember a moment when you were afraid when you were a kid on the streets, or you were hustling or anything? Or
A lot of moments when I'm afraid. I think it's necessary for you to have fear to be conscious of people.
Mm-hmm. What do you mean by that?
A slight bit of actual fear is necessary for you to be aware, like a paranoia. There's like after it heightens your awareness.
Right.
You know, so I a lot of times when people when I interact with people in different spaces, it's so less intense than what I've had the experience prior to music, that it puts me in a space where it's really a relaxed space. So it is true, a lot of times I interact with people and they have a stronger fear factor involved in our interaction than I have, because I've been in way worse situations, to me, more dramatic spaces. So I just look at each one of the situations and kind of analyze it, or I'll use a parallel to something I've experienced in my past to make sense of the actual situation. So a lot of the decisions are kind of like gut feelings. Like the music business and entertainment in general, there's no school for it.
Right.
You know, so you got to kind of instinctively make the right decisions and be spontaneous and not be afraid to actually be yourself.
Only survived, but he was able to become successful, but he kept building on it and building on it. It's the typical American rags to riches story. I wanted to know why. What's underneath it? What was that quality that maybe we could learn? And in spending time with him, I felt like if I could summarize it in one word, it's that this is a man who comes to life without fear. So it's not just fear of death or bullets. That's the obvious thing we're talking about. I'm talking about, here's a man who's not afraid of change, for instance. If something happens where a situation is new, he's lost a job, he's been cut off this record contract, there's something happening, he doesn't get upset or worried. He's calm. He deals with it in a fearless manner. He takes risks, but the risks are controlled, but he's not afraid of failing. He's not afraid of being criticized. He's not afraid of being different from other people. When I thought about that, it's just how powerful you could be in life if you are not afraid of the things that happen to you. You're able to feel balanced and in control and make decisions not based on exaggerating risks, etc., but on reality. I just thought it was an incredibly powerful way to be in the world. I could feel it myself. And it's like it's a way of being in the world. When you're afraid and fearful, it's like your mind, the aperture of your mind closes up to this, and you stop looking at the world around you. You want everything to be comfortable and familiar and the same. You stay in your house, you watch the same TV shows, everything just, the circle closes up. When you're not afraid, and we've experienced it all in our lives, when suddenly you're in a new country and you just don't, you're traveling and you feel open, your mind is active and alive, you become creative, everything changes. This is the key to feeling powerful, but also to being creative in the world. So I wanted to get underneath all of the other things, the power, the seduction, the strategy, and see that quality that lay underneath it all. I get so annoyed with that argument about it being innate. How could something like that be innate? Sure, we are all individuals, and somebody, because of who they are and their DNA and their experiences, are a little more timid than other people. But nobody is born without fear. We are all born into this world screaming and crying, bloody mess. We're terrified of being away from our mother for a few minutes. We're afraid of the dark. We're afraid of dying. We're afraid of being beaten up in school. We're afraid of failing. There's not an individual on this planet, I don't care who you're talking about, who hasn't felt a lot of fear. What differentiates people are those we find who tend to deal more with fearful situations and understand that it's hurting them in life.
With an open mind and the idea of figuring out what this book could be, I hung out with 50 throughout much of 2007. I was given almost complete access to his world. I followed him on numerous high-powered business meetings, sitting quietly in a corner and observing him in action. One day I witnessed a raucous fistfight in his office between two of his employees, with 50 having to personally break it up. I observed a fake crisis that he manufactured for the press for publicity purposes. I followed him as he mingled with other stars, friends from the hood, European royalty, and political figures. I visited his childhood home in Southside Queens, hung out with his friends from his hustling days, and got a sense of what it could be like to grow up in that world. And the more I witnessed him in action on all these fronts, the more it struck me that 50 was a walking, living example of the historical figures I had written about in my 3 books. He is a master player at power, a kind of hip-hop Napoleon Bonaparte. While writing about the various power players in history, I developed the theory that the source of their success could almost always be traced to one single skill or unique quality that separated them from others. For Napoleon, it was his remarkable ability to absorb a massive amount of detail and organize it in his mind. This allowed him to almost always know more than his rival generals about what was going on. After observing 50 and talking to him about his past, I decided that the source of his power is his utter fearlessness. This quality does not manifest itself in yelling or obvious intimidation tactics. Anytime 50 acts that way in public, it is pure theater. Behind the scenes, he is cool and calculating. His lack of fear is displayed in his attitude and his actions. He has seen and lived through too many dangerous encounters on the streets to be remotely fazed by anything in the corporate world. If a deal is not to his liking, he will walk away and not care. If he needs to play a little rough and dirty with an adversary, he goes at it without a second thought. He feels supreme confidence in himself. Living in a world where most people are generally timid and conservative, he always has the advantage of being willing to do more, to take risks, and to be unconventional. Coming from an environment in which he never expected to live past the age of 25, he feels like he has nothing to lose, and this brings him tremendous power. The more I thought of this unique strength of his, the more it seemed inspiring and instructive. I could see myself benefiting from his example and overcoming my own fears. I decided that fearlessness in all its varieties would be the subject of the book. The process for writing the 50th Law was simple. In observing and talking to 50, I noticed certain patterns of behavior and themes that would eventually turn into the 10 chapters of this audiobook. Once I determined these themes, I discussed them with him, and together we shaped them further. We talked about overcoming the fear of death, the ability to embrace chaos and change, the mental alchemy you can effect by thinking of any adversity as an opportunity for power. We related these ideas to our own experiences and to the world at large. I then expanded on these discussions with my own research, combining the example of 50 with stories of other people throughout history who have displayed the same fearless quality. In the end, this is a book about a particular philosophy of life that can be summed up as follows. Your fears are a kind of prison that confines you within a limited range of action. The less you fear, the more power you will have, and the more fully you will live. It is our hope that the 50th Law will inspire you to discover this power for yourself.
Introduction. So over you is the greatest enemy a man can have, and that is fear. I know some of you are afraid to listen to the truth. You have been raised on fear and lies. But I am going to preach the truth to you until you are free of that fear. Malcolm X.
The fearful attitude. In the beginning, fear was a basic, simple emotion for the human animal. We confronted something overwhelming, the imminent threat of death in the form of wars, plagues, and natural disasters, and we felt fear. As for any animal, this emotion had a protective function. It allowed us to take notice of a danger and retreat in time. For us humans, it served an additional positive purpose. We could remember the source of the threat and protect ourselves better the next time. Civilization depended on this ability to foresee and forestall dangers from the environment. Out of fear, we also developed religion and various belief systems to comfort us. Fear is the oldest and strongest emotion known to man, something deeply inscribed in our nervous system and subconscious.
Guys, this is crazy. I grew up without money, but I didn't grow up hungry. What's going on in this world is out of control. I mean, there's so many people suffering from hunger. I mean, dying from hunger every day. I went to Africa, and the devastation I witnessed changed me forever. I mean, to see people who don't know when they're gonna receive their next meal or if they're gonna receive their next meal, it's crazy. I wanna feed 1 billion hungry people, and I need your help to do that. This is our world, these are our streets. I need your energy. Let's do this. After the actual shooting, I went through a process. A lot of people won't be honest because their image would be up. They've been through the actual experience, but I went through a portion of me actually being afraid and experience because I was hurt physically. I was hurt bad, so I was afraid and I wasn't comfortable with being afraid. And the only time I wasn't afraid is when I was actively involved in actually looking for somebody connected to it. You look at the bushes. When I see the bushes, I look through the bushes. The paranoia from the experience of actually being hurt heightens your senses to everything, the possibilities of things happening. It shifted me. It's either when you get hurt that bad, either your fear consumes you or you'll become a bit insensitive and you'll start to approach the problem instead of run from it.
The book is really about fear and overcoming fear, isn't it? And I just keep thinking fear can be quite good. You know, I don't want to stop myself doing silly things.
You can have a slight paranoia that helps you be aware of situations, and even in the 48 Laws of Power that Robert wrote, there's some things in there that you might feel like are evil, but you need to be aware of them because someone else's intentions might be very well what that law of power is. You know, so like when I got a chance to talk to him, we even brought it down to the perspective of a person that's in a staff meeting that is watching someone else raise their hand to answer a question that they know the answer to. And that means that person deserves to be ahead of you in life because your fear of being wrong at that point is not allowing you to create your value in the workspace.
Have you overcome fear? I mean, you were shot 9 times in the year 2000. In terms of dealing with fear, I suppose you're not scared of anything after that.
Well, when you're in life-threatening situations, it makes you a little more conscious of death. You know, and the more that you are aware of your fate, the higher the probability you have a chance to live. So you're a little more free. Like I go into what Robert kind of identified as the core of my power is me being in business situations and being the person with the least fear at the table. And that's because I weigh these things up against my biggest losses in my life. So like the loss of my mom is the biggest thing that I've experienced. So walking into a room, even at the worst possible scenario, it won't damage me to the point or hurt as much as that hurt it.
But what you were saying is how I bounce back.
What would you tell somebody? Because you know how it takes 2 to 3 times to really fuck up, to really mess up, to really go bankrupt.
Yeah.
For them to really learn and really make money for real. What would you tell somebody on their first time? Because you know that first time when you fuck up, you want to quit. You want to switch what you're doing. You don't believe in yourself, low key.
Right. Basically, you said basically when you fuck up, it don't give you the confidence. A lot of people lacking confidence when they trying to pursue something and it don't go right for them, right?
Yes, sir.
So basically, I'm gonna tell you, like, basically with me, right? When I first started doing what I started doing, like early on, I actually fucked up so many times. You know what I'm saying? Like I fucked up a lot, and then I was like, man, I can't do this shit. But what gave me motivation was seeing niggas do it, right? So I was like, man, if these niggas can do it, I can do it. You know what I'm saying? So I started like fucking with a few niggas who was getting money and shit, and I started figuring out the way that, like, how they move, right? So I'm noticing these niggas don't watch TV. I'm noticing these niggas just strictly focusing on money. Niggas was very well disciplined, right? So I'm like, okay, these niggas real disciplined. So clearly I need to be disciplined, because at the time when I was trying to make a lot of money, I wasn't very disciplined, bro. You feel me? I was basically, I wanted the money, but I wasn't fully giving it my all, you know? Like whatever, like, you know what I was giving my all at the time? At that time, I was more worried about a female or a job versus what I really needed to worry about. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So life is about whatever you want. So whatever you want, you're gonna get, right? So at that time, I really wanted a relationship and a girl. So that's what I got. And I only cared about that, and everything else was second, right? So then I started putting money first. I say, man, let me put money. I put God first, money second, but really money. You get what I'm saying? So God, money, and then everything else came after that. And then I started getting successful with things. You feel me? Stuff started really working. Because why? Because that was my main focus. So it wasn't no female I was worried about like that, or I was strictly worried about a bag, securing a bag. And I was thinking about my future. I was like, man, I need to research. I need to read a lot. I need to be the best. If he can do it, I can do it 10 times better. You feel me? Yeah. So when I was doing that, niggas like, damn, bro, like, man, you passed this person up. You passing this person up. You passing this person up. Because I started learning that all these niggas had habits. And all these niggas had like issues. And I started eliminating those issues. That's why I don't drink. I don't smoke. I just strictly just like focus on waking up, what I'm gonna do next, how I can better myself, how I can, you know what I'm saying, be better. How can I be a better person than somebody who's in my life right now? You feel me? Like, it was just stuff like that, bro. Like, how can I be a better connection?
And you know what I mean? What's that next bag? What's the next thing I gotta do to make that money?
Shit, basically, first, number one is discipline, right? So after I got disciplined, I started researching. The next thing is researching on how to do things. So for instance, you know what I'm saying, at the time when I was fucking with the banks, right? Most people, they'll get a move, don't know what to do with the move, and they'll pass it. A move is basically like a debit card in an account, you know, a banking account and shit like that, right? Yeah. So niggas, I'm gonna tell you, a lot of people are lazy. That's one of the reasons why when they trying to get a bag, they don't really want to do a lot of research, because they rather somebody else do it, and they rather not do it themselves. They just want to let other people do it. But you know what I'm saying? Yeah. But me, I learned how to do everything on my own, bro. That's how I got so good. I started learning how to do everything on my own. I used to go through a middleman ass motherfucker, and then I cut the middleman off, man. The number 2 thing, cut the middleman off, man. Stop being lazy and go ahead and do what you do. After you do all that, whatever you do, you're going to be better than anybody. You're going to be a pro at it, no matter what it is, bro. You're going to be a pro because you're out researching everybody. You being a big networker, you know what I'm saying? Whatever you're doing to get to the bag, it's called networking, because you meet this person, and that person to make all these links connect. That's how you make the money, bro. It's about who you know, what you know. You feel me?
Yeah. What was your first step?
Man, my first step when I started shit in 2014, bro, I met some motherfuckers, you know what I'm saying, that was getting some money. I learned their ways, and I became better than all of them. So the first step is getting money. It just depends on what you want to do, bro, because it can be something illegal or illegal. It can be something legal or illegal, right?
I got a big question for you, bro.
Yeah.
Like, you think that hunger, you're born with it, or it's something that you could get in some way? You know what I mean?
No. Sometimes I think like this too. We all got the same 24 hours, right?
Yeah.
So, worst come to worst, right? You got to really understand this. We all got the same 24. But really, it depends on how people were raised, because if they was raised by certain individuals, kids are smart, right? They watch their parents. So, if their parents is doing this all their lives, most likely they're gonna be exactly like their parents, right?
Yeah.
So if your parent ain't really on shit, just a lazy motherfucker that don't want to do this, and this, and don't get me wrong, because there's a lot of people with bad parents, and you know, they end up getting successful, right? So I just say like this. Now, hunger is in you, right? But also it can be into anybody who just one day just want to change their life, wake up and change their life, bro, and be like, you know what? I'm finna get to some money. Instead of spending, like, let's say if you smoke weed, let's say if you drink, or let's say if you do whatever you do, you buy designer clothes. How about you take some of the money and invest it into learning how to do things? Like, let me learn how to do this. Let me learn how to do that. You feel me? Because you gonna go buy the Gucci, you gonna go buy this food, expensive food, you gonna go buy the rooms or whatever, but you don't want to buy knowledge that probably can make you rich later. You feel me? So that's basically what I'm saying. Like, as far as the first very step I started doing was just catching motherfuckers who, you know what I'm saying, was willing to rock with me and had a price tag, you know what I'm saying? And I was just like, hey man, what you would charge me to show me how to do this and show me how to do that? And once the nigga showed me, bro, I became better than them, no cap.
So it's really just taking notes from those that you know how to already.
Man, that's getting some money. That's just little notes from each and every person that's eating, bro.
Learning is the #1 step in everything. I believe in that.
Learning is everything. Knowledge and learning. Because when all these people are millionaires and billionaires because they what they know. It's what they know. They didn't just wake up and thought like, hey, let me get 100 exotic rentals, 1 million Airbnbs. Let me get a zoo, let me get a store, let me get a gas station. No, it's the knowledge that they knew to get the stuff. You know what I mean?
No, 100%.
So that's all that's going on, bro. That's it.
Personally on the 10-10-10 and what I had planned and what I thought should really go on. And I really, I go day by day, especially when it comes to a lot of the numbers. And I know what numbers mean. To me, 10 means omega, 10 means 0, 1. It's a binary code. So there's a lot that it really has to do with how this reality is constructed to me. And so what this was really about is this was about a big time transformation for me. I wasn't really paying attention to what was going on. I was just going through my daily, as we call it, occultation. And I started to get a lot of hints of different things that were taking place and how it was building up to a certain point. And what this is actually building up to is the story of the world and exactly why we're here, how we got here, what we should do about the situations that we're in, and things of that nature, things that we've really been having the greatest task at getting the answers to, especially out of our society. So, so basically to me what 10-10-10 is about, what we've done is we've taken the GB4000, and we're going to upload some pictures of that, but we've taken the GB4000, we've tied it into a RF booster, and we're broadcasting 528 hertz over the area that I'm at. We're kind of high in the mountains, and we're going to get this frequency to Earth, and we're not going to count on anything external to do that for us. We're going to do that ourselves, and we're going to link together with other individuals that are doing the same thing. We're going to bring about ascension to this dimension rather than just the stories about, hey, we're going to do this for you, and you need to give us this. I'm going to, what prompted this show also was the advent of the alien invasion information really coming out right now as being something that people want to know about and whether it's true. And I got a video that was going viral across the internet from a lady that says she's been in contact with aliens, and the aliens are telling her that it's going to basically be October 13th of this month when they invade our planet, which we're yet to see. But the fact of the matter is that we already deal with the planet extraterrestrial life. So this, of course, resets us a little bit from the aspect of, do we have extraterrestrials coming in contact with our planet? The answer to that is 100% yes. Even some of the individuals here being of some type of extraterrestrial nature, being the individuals that are here on this planet in human bodies. And as a friend of mine just said a minute ago, I said I was going to actually say on the show, finding out who you are may be a little weird. And especially if that information is just so far off of what they're telling you. But it is also empowering. Once you do know what you are and what you correspond to, it boosts your level of abilities. And so what we're going to first get into is I started to put this basic video together. And it was called Alien Invasions First Take Place in the Mind. And because if people would understand, they had to rewind on how worlds are actually constructed, they would understand that worlds are constructed with words. And that's why the words are so similar to each other, world and word, and then you add an L, which symbolizes a lot in this dimension, especially if the first Bible that was really passed to everyone said, and the Elohim